Hello guys. So this is where we stopped last time. What we had was we're trying to create a program here that would effectively allow a person that would effectively allow a person to analyze video data of a person running in this case. So what we do is we go ahead and load a video and we run the program, and the program will ask us to select points. So in this case we have a point right here, we said okay. We have a point right here, we said okay. We're gonna have a point right there, and apparently there's a point off screen. And this is interesting. When a point is off screen, we'll need the system to give us more space to analyze it. So we'll have to work on that as well, and we'll get back to how we can do that. So here's the code we had last time, and I did not change anything. For those of you who followed me earlier on our Sudoku solver, you know I love compacting things, and we will come back to doing all that compacting when the time comes. For now, I want to be able to handle this problem. Now, to simplify this further, I've been trying to figure out if we can do anything to it. And the only thing I came up with was something that I've never tested before, but I would like to test right now if that is okay with everybody. So here's what I want to test. Can I take a cluster and subtract from it directly? So if I take this cluster, can I subtract 10 from the cluster and get an answer right there? So I'm gonna do an indicator on each end. So here's the before and the after. Let's see how that works. Okay, so let's set a point, 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 point. Yes, it works. Alright, so that's the first thing I wanted to test. The second thing I wanted to test is if we do this. So I'm gonna get rid of this point and this. So we just took that and subtracted 10 from it. Can I take that and add 10 to it? Right? So basically now we have minus 10 and the plus 10. Can I combine these two in any way? If I bundle them, I'm afraid that I would double bundle. And by double bundling, I think this might, yeah, see, so that does not work anymore. Because it needs, so here if I click on this, it shows you what's going on. I connected two wrong things. I connected two clusters with different content. A cluster of 2 elements, conflict with cluster bounding rectangle, a cluster of 4 elements. So basically what I need to do is I need to uncluster these two, right? So I need to, and this is probably kind of annoying. Maybe I can convert it into an array, and then there's many ways to do this. Build a cluster from direct elements. So I could unbundle each one. So here's one option. And I'll go ahead and show you guys all the options that I can think of. Right? So I'm going to give myself space here. And I'm going to move this up here. And I'll show you guys all the different versions of what we are about to do. So in one case, I could go ahead and unbundle these and then take the cluster and rebundle them into 4. Not sure if there's an easier way to do this. Now that's one way of doing it, and that would give us the result we need. And to show the result, I'm gonna do these indicators. So these two will be the same. Now this one here has the specific name of XY because of the way we unbundled a named one. This one does not, because effectively the name XY here has been lost during subtraction, right? It's no longer that name. To fix this, I would need to enter here a cluster constant with the names. Again, I'll discuss these in further detail when we go to clusters. Now, one thing that I'm not sure would work, and I'm going to go ahead and try this. Is it possible to convert each one of these clusters into arrays? So now I have 2 arrays here, and perhaps I can build this array and And let's see if I take that and convert it back into a cluster. Oh, it does not work. Okay, it's not working because I believe this is no longer a 1D array. The reason is this needs to go back to concatenate. So there we go. So now we created a 1D array. And let's see if this array... Whoa. Okay, let's see what happened here. Show error. Oh, this needs a bounding box. Okay. Now let's see what's happening here. It's very interesting. So 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point. 340, 255, 360, 275. And then what is going on here? Why did it create a cluster that's going all the way up to 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even though that's not even double. I'm not sure where this came from. Let's see what this is here first of all. Let's go ahead and run this one more time. And I'm just click, enter, click, enter, click, enter, click, enter. 349, 285. That's perfect. 2 arrays. Well, what if I convert this perfect array into a cluster? Show me what this cluster will look like. I see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it seems no matter what I do, it will convert into 8 points. That might be something. Let's click here and see what's going on. If we go to detailed help, we might be able to find something that could help us. One dimension, each element in cluster is the same as the corresponding element in array. The cluster order matches the order of the elements, but it does not. Maximum cluster size is 256. The default is 9. See that? So the default is 9. This is what's going on here. So basically it always creates a cluster of 9 even though you might not use 9. Now I could leave it this way, but I'm not sure if it would work. Let's go ahead and test it. So if I connect this to our bounding box, it would not work. Okay, so the only way to make this work is to take the cluster and get rid of most of it, which is an option that you do not have when dealing with clusters. So basically what I'm trying to say is this method does not work. Even though it's the most compact and most feasible, but if you're dealing with any cluster less than 9, it's not going to work. Basically what I'm trying to say is imagine trying to do this not 4 times but 10 times or 20 times, right? So this is one way of doing that, which requires a lot of work. There's this method which requires less work but still requires connections, so you'll have to connect 20 of them, for example. And then there's this one where essentially it does not change. It looks exactly the way it looks right now. What I'm going to do for my purposes is I'm going to take this option right here. And the reason I'd like to choose this option is because it looks simpler and is probably easier to customize and edit if necessary. So I'm going to pick this one and hope for the best. So there we go. It's a pretty simple what's going on here. So we're not trying to do anything very fancy, just a little fancy. So there we go. And I'm just gonna go ahead and align this just a little bit, even though I know everybody hates this. And there we go. And we'll deal with the specifics later on. And this whole portion here is gonna be deleted. Gonna delete this. We're gonna need the 10 here, and the output cluster goes into the bounding box. And there we go. Again, we can fix these. Lots of the data, lots of the things going on here are easily fixed. There we go. So now we have a bounding box to this point. There's this drawing mode, and I'm going to create a constant. And you can see here it automatically knows what I'm kind of looking for. So when I say create a constant, it's not going to tell me create just text, even though some functions are not perfectly made for it. So basically, it comes to the design of the function of the block, right? So these are official LabView NI blocks, which will have a lot of support available. But if you download palettes made by users, you might not find the same. What's the word I'm looking for? You won't find the same ease of work, right? So it'll be harder for you to find support if you run into any specific problems. So I'm just further condensing here, and I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. So let's try fill. Let's see what fill looks like. And let's go here. To switch these, I click Control E, right? So let's go ahead and test this. So we select 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point. Well, the fill is interesting. I'm not sure which one is nicer. Perhaps if we have a smaller fill, it might be nicer than having a bigger fill. And are these size points okay, or do you guys think they should be bigger or smaller? Those are things we can control. We can add controls to these, whether you want them to be filled, not filled. It just depends on you. I think the filled ones are nicer, that's for sure. Now the size, whether we do this size or the bigger size, I'm gonna opt for the bigger size. And the reason is so you can clearly see, okay, so this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. We still need to set up a function for when it's off camera. We'll come back to that. So, but we have a functioning system going on right now. So you can clearly see, okay, this is probably not in the center. Let me go ahead and adjust it. And then you can click on adjust, and we'll get back to that in a while. All right. Now, the next thing I want to work on is this canceling bar, right? So when we're running this, and if I click the first one, okay, the second one, okay, the third one, I want to cancel it. And then the fourth, you see that? When I canceled it, it put it in 0, 0. So we have to watch out for this. And then click OK, and this one was canceled. First thing is, if it is canceled, right, then I do not want this to process. There are, I want to say, 2 ways of doing this. There's always more than one way of doing anything, almost, in at least in LabView. And it all comes down to you guys. So basically, the person using the software, it comes down to what your, I'm gonna say, preferences are. In my case right now, I would like to use the case structure. The alternative would be to use our selector, and I have discussed this before shortly. The difference is that in this scenario, this will only process if a specific situation occurs. Otherwise, it will not process. So that is kind of very important depending on what you're doing. In my case, I want the cancel to be false. So I want to make this, I can right click and say make this case false. So in the false case, this will occur. Basically, if we do not cancel, I want you to do this. And if you do cancel, I want you to just process this as it is, right? And let me show you guys what happened now. Remember this point here because I clicked cancel? So I'm going to click play. And I could put the first one, second one, third one. If I cancel it, this does not end up being created, right? So when this cancels, so if cancel is true, this is what happens. Nothing. As you can see, exactly nothing happens. I do not use RAM. I do not use my CPU memory for anything. But in the false event, all this stuff you see here is occurring when this is false. So basically, we are calculating the box here. This whole thing calculates the box with a bounding region of 10, and it's filled, and then this occurs here. So that's what's going on in this scenario. I think something else that would be interesting is if the overlay actually has either a color code or or we can add numbers. Is it possible there? Look at that. IMAQ overlay text. We could probably add text and add a number like 1, 2, 3, or 4 to the text. Now how awesome would that be? So basically here's what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and run this, and when you run it you can click here and say okay, and this will now have a number 1 in it, and then here this will have the number 2, here we'll have the number 3, and here we'll have the number 4. So there will be a small 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think that would be a great idea. So that way, the reason I'm saying this is because then you will always know exactly where your points are, right? You will not get confused. Everything will be very straightforward and very easy to work with. So I'll work on that. Alright, we'll work on that. Sorry guys. I'm not going to work on anything alone. As I said in other videos, I want to try as much as I can to keep you guys in the loop, and hopefully by doing this you guys will be able to learn at your own pace as I learn, right? So what I'm doing here you guys are doing with me, and as you can see I'm messing up and I'm doing things wrong and I'm doing things right, but this is basically what I want to do. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now, I actually want to play around with this number, but first I want to do this cancel thing that I discussed. So if you cancel, if this is true, I would like to stop this. And you can actually do this by right-clicking here, by right-clicking on the edge and converting this to a conditional terminal. And this gives us this stop function. I have not made a video about structures, so I have not discussed this in great detail. But basically, by doing this true, if I'm not mistaken, then this will stop the entire n when I cancel it. Let's go ahead and test this. So if I run this and select the first point, say OK, and then I cancel, it stopped the function. It did not go through the rest of the point. It just stopped. That's exactly what I want, right? Now I don't have a use for this anymore. All I have a use for is this true case, which I'm not sure. Let me go ahead and try. Am I able to put this in here? Yes, I am. And I can get that out of there. Oh, okay. It's not in here. So what's happening, see this black square under it? That means this is hovering above the true. So I would need to put this somewhere like here, and I can connect it to that directly. And there it is. Now it's pretty conveniently hidden away. So when this is true, this is an error. This black, okay, there. So when this is true, this will cause the system to stop as well. So that's two things that are going to occur at the same time. I'll come back and work with this later. What I would like to do is try to investigate the whole issue with this, the number. So let's expand this, get some space in here. I'm going to expand this too. And I will also, well, I'm going to keep this as is. I'm going to add the number after this point. So we go. I always keep closing this vision. I have to always come back to it. I'm going to just keep it open on the side. There we go. So now I'm overlaying a number. Hopefully a number. So now we start off by adding the image and having the, let's see, image out on the other end. Obviously we have to get rid of this so there's no circular patterns going on. Let's see what happens. Then I have to set the origin point and the string that I want to type. I'm not sure if we need to set anything X. Text color is default black. Background, I think that's what BG is. Background color is transparent. I'm not working with the error system yet, but I will use it later on as a general guide and follow of path. So the origin point, I guess, would be the point that we were using back here, right? So it's this point before analysis is going to be our origin point. I hope no one is going to argue with that. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm gonna need some string. For now, I'm gonna just use a constant and I'm gonna say 0 just to see what's gonna happen, right? So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. So when I play this, I click here and say OK. There it is. Okay, so the origin is minorly offset. It's not exactly where I want it to be. So what I would like to do is to have the origin point, instead of where it is, I'd like to subtract from it, from this origin point. I'm gonna subtract. Okay, so when I did that, it gave me an array inside the cluster to delete from the X something different from the Y, which is not what I want to do. I want to get rid of 5 from each side and then plug this back in here. Now let us go ahead and see what this looks like, and click here, say OK. Oh, okay, I know what just happened. Okay, so what's going on here is that this subtracted 5, so basically we went minus, which is because I guess the coordinate system it's using goes positive down, bottom right is the positive, not top right. So basically in an image this is 0.00, this is point whatever 1000. In your screen this is 0.0, and then it goes from there. So we're not going to be able to use this. I will go ahead and create a constant, and we shall edit this constant. For simplicity, I'll put the constant on top, the negative on the bottom, and the reason I just did that is just because I'm wired differently. So what we're going to do is the top, we're going to take this is 5 minus. Okay, yeah, this doesn't work. I'm sorry. I know I just said that and I thought it would make things easier, but I think it will complicate things. So what we need to do is we need to take the X and go minus. Minus 5 seemed too much. I'm going to try minus 4, and then minus 4 is plus 4. So I'm going to do 4, and I'm going to do minus 4 down here. And let's see how this plays out. If we run this and click here, OK, so there it is. It still needs a little less on the X and a little more on the Y. So a little less on the X and a little more on the Y. And run. Click this point, OK, much better. So this is 0.0. This here, 0.0, 0.0, 0.0. They're all going to be 0.0s in this case. I want to give it just a tiny bit more on the X and test that again. I think there's a minor offset there. Okay, now it's way too much. So let's go ahead and try 2.5. I know I'm being very, very, very picky right now, but sadly I cannot help it. So what I'm going, this seems to be unchanged. I'm going to keep it at 3. I'm going to change this to 9. And I think by playing around with the font, yeah, I'm going to play around with the font. Cancel and take this back to 10. Let's see what happens here. So here we have font size and style. If I do create a constant, whoa, okay, so we have all this data in the constant, which is giving me the font. I'm using application font. The size, it's using 12. Aha, this is data I can use. So 12 means I need to offset from the center minus 6. That's what 12 tells me. So, and then let's see, what is this? Oh, we can center. Bottom, top, baseline. Baseline. Probably if I go in here and set the detailed help, it will give me exact data. There we go. So desired font, cluster, font name, blah blah blah, horizontal alignment, vertical alignment, aligns to the text along the baseline, along the top, along the bottom, along the baseline, center. Let's see, what did I just do? I probably just messed up everything going on here. Yes, I did. Alright, well, does this mean we can use the native point as is? No, we cannot. So we still need to do a horizontal adjustment of -6. But we probably do not need to do any more. I mean a vertical alignment of -6, but we probably don't need to do a bottom alignment. No, we still do. Okay, if we take this and go back to bottom and run it again here, okay, perfect, beautiful. This is not beautiful, but the other one was beautiful. So yes, you guys get the picture. Okay, I can double click the cluster to minimize it and move the help. So I could do that, and there we go. Now it's just hidden. What was this 0? That was the string we're using. So the string we're going to use is going to be the number here. So we're doing this 4 times, right? I'm not sure. Let's see, what indicator do I get from here? Okay, you just get how many times you're gonna do it. So that's not gonna help us. So what I'm gonna get is I'm gonna get my eye, and I take my eye, and what I do is I increment it by 1 because it starts from 0 and I want it to start from 1. And then I go to string, convert string to number, and what I'm doing is I'm converting my number to, I guess, a decimal string in this case. The number goes on top. There we go. Width. Interesting. Detailed help. What do they mean by width? Is that the precision? So 4.6 width 2 is underscore 5 as a string. Okay, so I need a width of 1, which is probably what I'm going to get anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and test this by connecting that there. Let's go ahead and see what happens now. So now I should be able to set, okay, his hip is here, 1, 2, 3, and set 0.4. And there it is. This is beautiful. Don't you guys think so? And now we have the actual points. So this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4, and you can see it. Let us try to make the font bold, just to make this kind of cooler. Size, strikeout, italic, underline, outline, shadow, bold. The last true or false is bold. So I want to set this to true, but it's not letting me do that here. There we go, true. Perfect. And then I can double click the cluster to condense it. This is just a visual trick, right? So all the data is still there, but I don't have to keep this open all the time. We could set a font. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it to application font. This will be different from program from one place to another. So 1 is over here, 2 is somewhere over there, 3 is somewhere right there, and then 4 is somewhere down there, and there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. Beautiful. So now that we have all the points, we can go on to the next image, and we can keep doing this over and over again until we set it for everything. Now, I think the color red is pretty fine. So there we go. So now we have our entire system set up. I'm just gonna spend a few small, short minutes arranging this. I hate when these get this crossing over thing. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to move the eye down, give myself some space, move. This is a cluster. Oh, why is it like that? This should be minimizable to the same thing as this. I'm gonna do a cluster constant of my own and add 2 numbers in there, and this is 0 and this is -5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to auto size to fit. That's not size to fit. Auto size arrange vertically. There we go. This is what I want. Ah, perfect. That's what I want. Now I need to test this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it before anything. So let's see. Here, 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 and here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Perfect. Now we're going to do this alignment game and then move this down here. Just below the fill. There we go. We can move this up to the midpoint. The fill can actually go below this line. We can move this a little higher. And we can move this to the left. Now our numbers, we're going to have to add 1 to our initial number here. This is the I, which will come in from the outside. And by outside, I mean the outside of the true or false case. And then we move all this data over to its rightful place. We could move the fill to the outside. I don't think it will quite. All this, what I'm doing right now, absolutely serves no purpose. Zero. Right? So what I'm doing is just making it look pretty. And then those are the exact words to describe what I am doing. I am making it look pretty. Nothing else. What I'm doing does nothing else but make it look pretty. Now, I like to keep my inputs on the left, even though I can have inputs, outputs going, even though I can have them going out the side, like this one's going out from the bottom here. It does not matter, but I like having a pretty stable looking thing when I'm dealing with LabView. All right, so let's move on to our next step. So now that we have numbers in there, which I think are beautiful, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Look how awesome that is. That is perfect. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is handle what goes on out here, and then we might have to come back and work with the data in here. Now, first, it's going to be a very simple setting of the points, right? And then we're going to have to set up a system to do this automatically. So I'm going to take this entire system that I have here, including the whole true or false, and I think what I should do is make a small, and this is something I have not discussed earlier, but I think what I should do is set up a sub-VI. And I haven't talked about sub-VIs in any of my earlier videos, so this might be confusing for some of you, but I hope it will not be, because it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward what it means. I won't handle it just yet. I will come back to it in a bit. Sorry, I'm umming a lot. If I take this and I subtracted this amount, what I could do is I could take this data from here and send it out from the side, or I can send it through here. Yeah, I could send it through there. So what I'm doing right now is simply trying to make this look prettier. And as I said, this is definitely not something anybody needs to worry themselves with, but I personally like to take a special interest in how my code looks for no real reason. There we go. So let me get this, get it out the front, and back to my array. Delete this, and delete these. There we go. So this system will now ask 4 times what to do. I don't know why I'm compressing it. I'm going to need a lot more data. So other data that I'm going to need is whether this was cancelled or not. So this is our cancelling, right? And we're going to take this out of here, and as soon as it goes out, we are going to perform a, let's see, Boolean to number. And what this does, it takes this and converts it into an array of numbers. And then I'm going to take these numbers and I'm going to add them up. And now what I just made is a error checker. This is a cancel checker, not an error checker, sorry. So basically what this will do is if I cancel, it will give me a number here. If this number is greater than 0, it will tell me that the operation was cancelled. There we go. So there's only one indicator now. Instead of having all 4, there's only one, and I just made it bigger for just so you can. So if I click OK, if I don't do anything, it doesn't turn on. If I set up 1, 2, and then cancel, it goes to green. So yeah. Oh, look at that prompt. What does this prompt? Let's create constant. Okay. Select the first point. Exclamation mark. With a space, without a space. Let's see how that works. Run. Ah, select the first point. Okay, select the second point. Okay, this is interesting. So we can play with this and use it to our advantage. I like this. So we can actually use this in a huge number of ways. Here's what I'm gonna do with it. Instead of having this set to 4, I can actually create an array of 4 sentences and have the computer use those 4 sentences as an array and have them figure out what I want to do. Second, third, select the 4th point. Perfect. And let's do a alignment to the right. Let's do an array, build an array, building an array of 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I like to keep everything up to the top instead of actually having it off to the middle, just the way I do things. And then I want to connect this to the prompt. There we go. So now this right here is setting the system to n equal 4 automatically because there's 4 of them. So let's run it and then select the first point, select the second point, select the third point, and select the 4th point. Perfect. Now let's say you are done and you want to change only 1. The key word here is only 1. So how do we do that? We can go ahead and manipulate the system to do that. This will be very interesting. I might be overcomplicating the code somewhat, but I like it. I like having a code that can accommodate to almost anything. I find that very useful. So what we're gonna do now is, before handling this canceling situation, is I want to handle the situation where I want to change something. So basically what I will need is buttons. And let's see, an OK button, a text button, OK button, or cancel button. I think does not really matter. I'm gonna go ahead with the just text button for now. Let's see, can we get some modern or maybe classic? Since we're dealing with the classic numbers, maybe we can use classic buttons. Label square. or we can use modern buttons. Square. Okay, does not quite matter. There. So the thing is about buttons is the way they latch. So there's a thing called mechanical action, and this matters. So the latch, when released, switch when released, basically what's going on here is it tells you when do you want the signal to process. So if you look at, this is the motion, that's what M is. So click, unclick, click, unclick, and then here is it says V for volts perhaps, but this is when the signal. So here the signal is when you press. Here the signal is when you release. Here it's only on as long as you're clicking it, right? This is a little shorter, this is a little after, and this goes a little further. So it depends what you're doing. In our case, we need to click it and have it so switch when pressed or switch when released. I like using switch when released. So when we release, it switches, but I want the button to come back up. So if we run this, oh, I just realized something. Okay, so we are running our system outside of a while loop. And what this means, and I don't think I've discussed this in great detail, but what this means is that the system what this means is that the system will not run the way we want it to. Okay, let's extend this. We'll deal with those later. Come here, create a huge while loop to play in, and create a control stop button. There we go. And now I can work with this button. So where's this button? There it is. Put it out here. Let's run this and see what's going on. So if I click, first it's going to prompt me 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 1. Okay, it's going to keep doing that. Okay, I just let's see. Okay, this is bad. Okay. I know exactly what's wrong here. I need to be able to press this stop button, and I can't do that. There we go. No. Damn. So these are things that you should always watch out for. So now it's the system's in an infinite loop because every time it's going to bring this up, and I will never be able to set it. See, it's going to be in an infinite loop right there. And it will not stop for anything. Let's see, what can I do? So what I can do is get out of it, but I haven't saved. This is still an untitled, so I need to actually be able to stop it. Oh. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to overload my system and then use that overloading. Let's see, I'm gonna run some YouTube videos. My CPU is already at 86% right now. I just want to push it over the edge. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna run this video endlessly. I believe it keeps repeating. Yeah, let's do that. 93%. Nope, still not working. 84%. My CPU is at 84%. Okay, I need to do something else. This is really, really funny. So if you guys aren't laughing, I don't know what's going on. Alright, so I'm going to end the episode at this point, and We'll pick this up in the next episode. I will try to figure out how to solve this. Alright guys, I'll talk to you soon.